Who inspired you to really want to do this?
You know, it's funny because there are so many things that I've done and so many of my friends, you know, in other big bands. But I realized, again, one of the people that I was really influenced by is here, and it's Mark Farner.
Oh, yeah.
Because I loved Grand Funk because I was a kid, you know, I was 11 years old, and I just loved the way they sang, and my voice he had that really high tenor voice, so I could sing the songs, and I was realizing that the band I was in at the time, half our set was Grand Funk songs, and when I saw Mark, so it was people like that, and then I studied jazz guitar, so. And at that same time, I'm listening to George Benson and Django Reinhardt and Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass. So, but I loved rock, but I liked rock for what it was, just I like jazz. But yeah, I mean, and I saw Mark and his voice is amazing. I mean, that guy's, his pipes are so strong and clean.
I mean, he had so much soul. That's what, you know, you look back at those Grand Funk, you know, performances, the groove was heavy. I mean,
I mean, it's like I've noticed that, you know, just other friends of mine that have written big hit songs that I've worked with, and it's just there. They've got it. You know, he's just got it. It's that intangible whatever it is, but he's got it.
Right,
in large quantities.
Well, that's what's great about an event like this is, you know, you're telling people, you know, they influence and this guy influenced this guy, and you know, it's this happy kind of, you know, melting pot. Yeah.
You know, camaraderie. You know.
Yeah,
it's really a nice.
Really exciting. Now, what led you to your style of playing? Obviously, these were some of your influences. How did you start to find your own style and voice?
When I have a degree in music, and when from in Chicago, but when I graduated college. And I'm not saying that I'm not smarter than anybody, but you know, I finished school, but my family, a lot of my family's from Northern California. I always wanted to move to LA. So as soon as I got out of school, I moved out here. And I found, with my jazz background, the way I played guitar, metal was coming up. It was in the 80s. And I realized metal to me, I could break it down, harmonic minor, this Phrygian mode. It came really easy to me, and so and at that era, it was like we were blazing trails on guitar. It was like, you know, there was some of the greatest rock guitar playing ever. You know, the technique of it. So that's kind of how it happened. I mean, it just happened by accident. Then somebody started calling it shred guitar, and that name stuck. But it really, never thought. We just wanted to be really good.
Yeah.
You know, and so. But that's it, and then I became like one of the pioneers of that style, so can't complain.
Yeah, well, I know you've influenced so many people, and you know you're right there with all the new technology, you know, with the guitars. Tell us about, you know, coming up with the double guitar.
Thanks. I'm lefty, and I play piano, and when I studied music in school, if you look at composers of the past, I find. It's a different era, but same stuff. Meaning, there's always going to be somebody that's cutting edge, and there's always going to be some critic that doesn't like it. And Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones said their first album, they're not good songwriters. Well, of course not. And Kiss are clowns; they're never going to last. And you know, but I found like composers like Mozart, you need two things, at least what I've seen in music. One, you need the music, but second of all, you need a way to portray it. And that's where the double came in. I would see, like I'd study Mozart, he'd put a cloth over a keyboard. He had a show. Paganini was a great artist, but he also was visually, like you wanted to watch this guy. And so I translated to modern times. I mean, did Kiss need makeup? No. Did David Bowie need to look like he did, or the Beatles, or current artists? So what I did is my double guitar was my version of Jimmy Page using a bow. And how I got to do the idea is I'm lefty. So my normal way to play was, I've always wanted to play like this, even though I learned right-handed. And I learned right-handed because there were no left-handed guitars available when I was a kid. But I took a guitar, a Flying V, a right-hand guitar, I put it on a snare stand, left-handed, a Thomas snare stand, so I had 3 prongs. We put it left-handed, and we duct taped it to a dolly. And I had my friend wheel it out like the Trojan horse, and I walked up to this guitar. So I'm holding one guitar like this. There's another one taped to a dolly.
Yeah.
and a stand, and I walked up to it and played crisscross left-handed. And the reason I did that is pick, fretboard hand, pick. So it was the easiest thing I could do, but it looked so wild. People were like, what the heck is that? And the audience reaction had me develop the double. Because if they would not have liked it, or if I would have heard that stupid dude, get rid of it. Like I've tried stupid things over the years, like painting my fingernails like with black light paint, so that and people are like, I don't think so. But the double was something people liked.
They hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, it was something crazy. And I mean, even when I was on tour with Aerosmith very early in my career, we were in a band called Howland on Atlantic Records, and Aerosmith loved our record. The first time I debuted my double was in front of 24,000 people. It was in East Troy, Wisconsin, Alpine Valley. And Aerosmith watched me play. They actually had somebody come to our dressing room and say, we want to talk to Michael. So I go in there, and Joe Perry looks at me and goes, you going to do it? And I go, do what? He goes, you going to do it? I'm like, I'm doing it, man. And now the first time it sucked, it wasn't very good, but I got great reviews because it was so different. Nobody knew what the heck is this guy doing? But then I refined it. So that's how it kind of came up. And I enjoy doing it. I mean, I really enjoy it.
That's amazing. I mean, you're an innovator in that area, and like I say, you've got so many great ideas, with your playing. Where do you go from here? Where do you take this? What inspires you to the next level?
Well, here's one thing that I found really that I never knew. I didn't, when I came up in music, the goal was major label, radio, touring, MTV videos. So it was all that. But it's not like that anymore. But what I found is because of my musical knowledge, I started doing, like I was a writer for Guitar World magazine for almost 5 years. And just within last, it was about a year and a half ago, my column, after 5 years, it was good. Time for someone else. And I found one of my students, Tom Morello, from Rage Against the Machine, then Dimebag from Pantera said, Michael, he goes, I studied your video. Then I had John Petrucci from Dream Theater tell me, I studied your video. And so I've had a lot of famous guitar players study my techniques. And I found that is fulfilling it's not going to take the place of playing on stage, but it was a really good feeling to know that what you've done influenced someone else and they were really successful at it. So I was really honored by that.
Certainly one of the greatest compliments.
Yeah.
I mean, how does it feel to see a Tom Morello take some of your ideas and then add his style to it?
And it's cool. And the cool thing is he gave me credit for it. I mean, he said, I studied from Angelo Battio, and he called it a musical epiphany. But I think the challenge is, at least for me, is to take somebody like a Mark Farner again, because I really like Grand Funk so much, and him especially. His voice is still amazing. And I found that I don't want, just because I'm not an athlete, so I'm not running around like this. My fingers are doing this. I'm basically typing on a computer keyboard. I mean, there's not a lot of motion. So I've seen that if you take care of yourself, you can. I'm just as fast as I was when I was younger, maybe faster, but I'm better now because I've got 54 countries of experience bending in that vibrato now. And so the quest is really just to keep getting better, keep learning. I don't want to stop.
Keep evolving.
I don't want to be one of those people. Back in the old days, it was so much better.
Yeah.
Well, some things were great back in the old days, but we're not in the old days. We're in today.
You got to keep growing.
Yeah. So.
Now, what advice would you give to that young guitarist or that young band coming up? Because it's a whole different world now with the internet and the lack of artist development, the record labels, like you say, no MTV and all that. What advice would you give them to really find their own style and have any kind of longevity as a band?
Well, contrary to what some of my friends that aren't in music say, the musicians nowadays, I found young people are better than ever because they can go on YouTube and watch my videos. So the first lesson, they can already see a lot of information from most of the greats. We didn't have that. So my advice to a young musician is to perform in front of people, because then you know what works and what doesn't work. And because why when you play one song do people love and you play another one, somebody might, so you got to figure out what people like. And so that comes from playing live. And I would say use YouTube like MTV. release as much video content as you can, and get out there and play. You know, promote yourself. You know, because is the goal a record deal now? I don't know. You know, but the goal is promotion, and you just do it within the framework of what we have now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you want to excel at what you do, love what you do, and hope people appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really need a record deal or a record label to do that now with the tool.
Yeah, because
But you need a team. You still need somebody to help promote you. You know.
right. There's just other ways now, and it's so different. But it doesn't. You know, I mean, I guess if I was coming up in music now, I wouldn't be thinking the way I thought because it's not there anymore. The big record company deal's not there. So I don't think about it. I'm thinking, you know, I would think more on YouTube and getting out and playing, and, you know, and they still can't steal a live performance. You know, I mean, you can watch it afterwards, but live is live. You know?